What's up, guys? It's our wrestling podcast coming back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Just the Total Package and Greg the British Bulldog. Greg. Oh my God, it's Craig the British Bulldog. Blah. Sorry, buddy. Bringing you our perspective on the world
Greg,
of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry.
What,
just stories from the diehards. Sharing opinions with you. It's Krog. On today's topic, Wrestling Gets Real, Part 9.
I've known him for 35 years, by the way. Everyone out
I
there
know, and I
for
called
35
him Greg.
years.
For audio fans, give him a listen on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And for video, check us out on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. And look to your left for several other video options. And please give us a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Greg, I'm so sorry about that. I will never do that again. Greg, tell us about your favorite Rick Rude moments, buddy, because this is going to get wild.
This is, we just had an epiphany, and Jess will head it off, but this is when wrestling gets real. This is one we love to do. And this is numero 9, right, Jess? We had done math.
I sent everyone the notes. I'm like, it's part 6. And then, like, I meant to go back in our archives and be like, what number is it actually? Because I felt I was wrong with that, but I didn't think I was this wrong. And then right now, before we hit record, I went and scrolled. I'm like, we've fucking done 8 so far. Like, this is number 9. Like, so yeah, I'm shocked. I fucked up.
I love this whole topic.
I also fucked up in the sense of like
those real moments.
This one, I like it as well. It's it's our longest running topic, by the way, officially. That I know of. Like, there's probably something else. I'm like, we're at part 30.
I don't think so. I mean, outside of reviews, but we don't look at it.
This is the longest running topic that we've had, and I just this week got an epiphany where I was like, well, I should probably just do one wrestler because there's a lot of wrestlers out there that are shit disturbers.
It's a great idea.
We can do it. So I was like, oh God, I could have slowed it down. Like, we could have been doing 20 because like if each one is like one wrestler themed. We're good to go. So this one I just wanted to center around Rick Rude, ravishing Rick Rude.
Good dude, good family.
That's what I heard. You know, we say it
never lost his cool.
True.
We praise him a lot. We've done a legacy of Rick Rude. We do praise him a lot because of his work, and he is fondly thought of. However, when you dig a little bit deep,
to work with.
Yeah, he was kind of a mentally disturbed bitch, like at times, like so. Yeah, like a lot of the other ones, you know, they like to roid and pill up, and unfortunately, that makes them a different person than they would regularly be. Maybe he would regularly be this. He was a legit Golden Gloves champion. He could box you for sure. We're gonna find out later that he couldn't wrestle. Yeah, he couldn't wrestle as far as like amateur wrestling is concerned. You're gonna find out later that he's not a very.
And
good
we'll also
grappler.
find out that he could box too.
Yeah, and he loves guns.
Oof. That's never a good sign. All right, let's jump into the first topic of Miss Monsieur Rude versus Mark Starr. This is WCW 1994. On WCW Saturday Night, it was aired May 14th of that year. Rick Rude, then the WCW International World Heavyweight Champion, defeated Mark Starr in a short television match. There's no well-documented major backstage altercation between Rude and Starr that was reported from that period, but instead what exists are fan and anecdotal accounts suggesting the way Rude worked the match looked unusually stiff or aggressive towards Mark Starr, leading some fans to speculate it was more than a standard jobber squash match. Rick Rude was known in wrestling circles as a tough worker and sometimes took heat as if he felt bumped too hard or he didn't like how another guy worked, but there was no primary source confirming a real backstage fight with Mark Starr.
I sent you guys the link here too, and so what was released before was just really snippets of this when Rude was slapping him in the face. But when you really watch the match, it was actually a very fine professional wrestling match, and I put this in here on purpose because Wrestling Gets Real is about people going off script and really hitting each other, but there's a lot of rumors out there. Like, now that the internet is in the full fucking force that it is, and everything's at your fingertips with AI.
Everybody wants to try to make something that's not right.
Yeah, I use this as an example because I went back and watched this, and because I remember this people saying, "Oh man, Rude must have been mad at him or whatever." And I went back and watched it. I was like, no, all it was this was right before they turned Rick Rude face. Unfortunately, before they could turn him face and face Vader, his back was, he had that match with Sting in Japan. His back got so fucked up he couldn't wrestle anymore, and that was it for him. So they were actually getting ready to turn Rude face. to face Vader. And so what Rude was doing here was he was going super stiff on someone else, and he kept saying, come on, Vader, come on, Vader. He kept yelling at the camera saying that. So all it was to show that even though Rick Rude was kind of becoming face, like he was still tough as shit, and that he could go with Vader because Vader was known for being stiff and mauling people or whatever. That's really what this was. There was no thing. But for a long time, and the reason why I wanted to include it here was because people thought that Mark Starr pissed him off. There's even some fake narrative online that I would look at in the comments where people were like, oh, Mark Starr was acting all diva-ish in the back or whatever and thought he should be this big star, and so they put him against Rick Rude. I was like,
it's Mark Starr. What the fuck are we talking about?
First of all, if they wanted to do what they suggested right there, they wouldn't have put him against Rick Rude. They'd have put him in there with Vader, and Vader would have beat the shit out of him and probably broke his neck like when he did it, or broke his back or whatever while he did it. So this actually was not a wrestling gets real moment, but it's of the lore of Rick Rude, like which ties in. I kind of try to do a little theme here. It looked like it was at first. The Rick Rude slaps to the head was fucking hard.
Yeah, I will say though, I think coming in as heavyweight champ, I don't think he appreciated Mark Starr grabbing his foot right off the bat.
Yeah.
And Mark Starr kept trying to come back, like, which was not too uncommon, but like even when he was getting the piss kicked out of him, he still would try to fight back a little bit. And at some point,
Rude was pissed.
Rude was pissed at him, and he held back on his shots, but there was a right hand after like Mark Starr kind of did a couple slaps.
He gave him a bear hug in the middle of the match, which shows me that Rude was a professional and he was trying to relax things or whatever.
It was totally professional, but he peppered him to let him know, like.
But when know your role. When Starr slapped him in the face, like you saw Rude's face, and he open hand palmed him right in the ear, and I was like, oh my! And then he did it like more times, and the body shots, he hit him in the ribs like 3 times, like super. You heard a. Like just you're like, oh shit, like and then but the moves, Rude totally took care of them, did not take liberties or whatever. But like those shots, the fisticuffs, like Rude was laying them in for sure. But I did a lot of research on this too because the lore for a long time was Rude was pissed and shooting on him or whatever because Mark Starr was a diva in the back. I'm like, no, if Mark Starr was a diva and they wanted to straighten him out, you put him in there.
He wouldn't be out there.
Vader would have fucked him up.
Yeah.
Like Vader would,
or he wouldn't have been out there at all.
Yeah. Did you ever see Rude when he wasn't in shape? He's always been. Did you ever say to yourself, boy, he's maybe 10 more pounds on, maybe you should lose it a bit?
Well, he absorbed everything, but Mark Starr just knocked him right on his duck. Wow. Rude is mowing him over. Picked up Mark Starr.
Time to call Blue Cross Blue Shield.
It's Mark Starr. Like it's not even a real guy. If we're talking,
he should be world.
It's not even a real dude.
For the record, Mark Starr should have been world champion. Go on, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, settle down.
I don't know if you look familiar, but he's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. His real name was Mark Starr, and he just really lifted a lot of weights, and he became.
He's from Minnesota, like
Minnesota. He's from Minnesota.
Mark Lesnar.
All I would say is that I wouldn't doubt if Rick Rude's like, "Hey, I need you to do this. It's gonna get stiff, but we got to promote the Vader thing. I need you to slap me."
And he's like, "I need you to go grope my wife, please, if you will."
Oh my God, yeah, we've had stories about that.
I need you to go meet my wife in a bar, and then I could just pretend I got pissed off at you.
Well, let's jump into a real deal. We got Rick Rude and Eric Watts in WCW 1992. According to Eric Watts, who was the son of promoter Bill Watts, which sounds like you're already, I feel bad for you already, Eric, because you're in a shit show with Bill Watts. On the Insider Edge podcast, there was a real backstage confrontation between him and Rick Rude while they were both in WCW. The incident started when Rude was talking about his friendship and competitive story with Curt Hennig, who was Mr. Perfect, a fellow wrestler. Watts, tired from a long series of matches that day, made a snide remark about Hennig, saying Hennig must suck as a wrestler. Wow. Okay, you're an idiot.
That's not what he meant.
Rude was bragging. Yeah, Rude was bragging about how boxers are better than wrestlers, and even Perfect.
Yes.
He could escape from Curt Hennig and Eric Watts, who's a collegiate wrestler. And he said, I shouldn't have said it, but he was being hazed relentlessly. This was his first year or pretty early in his career. And by the way, this clip from this podcast, if Eric Watts had shown any of this personality, I would have been on board with him.
Right. I sent you guys a link to watch this. So when Eric Watts showed more personality in this shoot interview than he ever did in the ring. Yeah. But he was a legit athlete. He was a collegiate wrestler, and he could fuck people up.
Right.
So he was tired of Rick Rude just going, oh, boxers can beat wrestlers any day of the week or whatever. My best friend, Kurt Hennig, is a great wrestler. And that's when he was like, and he kept trying to waist lock me and I would escape. And then again, to what you said in the notes, Dave, Eric Watts was tired. They were on a long tour and he's just fucking tired. He's undressing in the locker room, just listening to this shit over and over again. And then he just said out loud by mistake, well, Kurt Hennig probably sucks as a wrestler then. And Rude's like, what? That's my best friend. He's like, well, I mean, if you can escape him, he fucking sucks. Because, so then you're going to read on, too. Sting ended up coming in the locker room, too, and kind of being a weird referee. And
what's up,
Eric
guys?
Watts proceeded to fuck Rick Rude up, in the amateur level, taking him down, not caring.
Yeah, 100%. So they described it as an amateur-style match in the back, a real shoot match. But not really a legitimate fight, but they're going to, let's go at it, let's wrestle. And Sting's like, well, I'll be a ref. And Watts says he took control. He took better control of Rude. He actually dislocated Rick Rude's shoulder during the encounter.
I'm just sitting in my locker, and Rude is standing up, smoking a cigarette, and he's talking about Kurt Hennig, his best friend. He's like, Kurt's a great athlete. I'm a great athlete, Golden Glove boxer, da-da-da-da. He goes, but I'm just here to tell you guys, a boxer will beat a wrestler every day. And as soon as he said that, my ears turned red. And he's like, yeah, we've done this several times. And we do this thing where I get on my all fours and he gets on top and he can't hold me down. I escape, And then when he said that, my bullshit meter went through the roof. And I don't know why I said it. I shouldn't have said it. And I just said, I had Tourette's. I go, well, then Kurt Hennig is a pussy. And I don't even know if you had a solar eclipse in your life. But when I say everyone was just listening to Rick and everyone was just... And I really didn't have or need anything to say. I said it because I just couldn't take it. And he got so, you're talking about my best friend. I'm thinking, you're talking about your best friend, And I said, well, I got to be honest with you. He just sucks as a wrestler then. Because if you can escape and all of that, then he's just, he sucks. Well, he was more worried about the guy he was telling his best friend that couldn't hold him down. He was now mad that I'm talking bad about his friend. It's the old thing, I can talk bad about my spouse, but you can't. I mean, it's the craziest thing.
Aw. And that part of me is that's
the amazing thing, and why I put this in Wrestling Gets Real, because I think we all forget too, we're so used to their personas on TV, like Vader. When he got knocked out by Paul Orndorff, everyone's like, what? And I'm like, you got to understand, Paul Orndorff will fuck you up. And it's weird. It's who is a real tough guy in real life? You could be the same as your on-screen character, or you could not be. And Rude was tough. He's a legit boxer. He was a Golden Glove boxer, if I'm not mistaken. Or was Rude an arm wrestler? I think Rude did box, but I don't know if he did it professionally. But Rude was a professional arm wrestler. He boxed. He could handle himself too. Rude was a man's man, so to speak. And but when you get in there against a pro like somebody like Eric Watts, who's no, I'll fuck you up. I know how to wrestle really well.
Eric Watts.
Bill Watts' son was a great athlete. So
Rude tried to confront him again while he was on the phone. And he reversed it and forcefully took Rude. He grabbed him by the waist, and Watts is like,
he's on the phone.
Reversed
it.
Anyway, Dad,
took him to the ground. I was in there. This Rick Rude guy. And he gets it. And he fucking reverses.
Hold on, I got some idiot trying to fucking hug my waist and suck my ass. Hold on, let me take care of this. And then Rude expressed that he was respectful afterwards, saying Watts had endured a lot and made respect. They had a better relationship, and with Rude acting as part of a mentor later on. How do you be a mentor after you get your ass kicked?
So no, it's so funny because he's a good pro wrestler. Rick Rude was, and Eric Watts was not. Like, so that's how that happens.
Fair enough.
But I guess Sting came up to him after the encounter and just said like, "Hey, you've taken your last hazing, by the way," because like he finally stood up to Rude and fucked him up and showed him like, "Hey, like I'm a tough guy or whatever." So Sting, I guess, came up to Eric Watts afterwards. He's like, "Yeah, so your hazing days are done. You're all
done.
Good. Yeah, you're all good. You've kind of proven yourself. Like people are gonna lay off you."
He says in the clip like people would put broken glass in his boots.
Fucking
oh my
So
God.
put his boots on and like cut his feet. Like, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And as
God.
fans, we
Like,
used to
you would die
hate
for
Eric
that.
Watts because we're like, we knew that he was Bill's son. We felt the nepotism. We felt everything. And then Eric Watts was not a great pro wrestler. Like, but then like you hear it, as an athlete, he was a fucking stud. Like, he will fuck you
Right.
up. It's kind of crazy to hear. Wrestling Gets Real, Part 6. Just kidding, Part 9. Apparently, 'cause fucking, I don't know what I'm doing.
Jump into the next. Rick Rude and Eric Bischoff, WCW 94. This is where I think people really heard a lot more about it.
The narrative
a real,
of Rick
repeated.
My American
Very
Rick
good.
Rude.
It was, it was complicated.
Tony Khan. If
It
he
was.
had
That's
a-
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was like, so he refused a job to Sting, and Eric's like, no.
It's so funny.
He encouraged
That's not- no,
a conversation that
I
we
gave
had
you
to
guys
have.
2 clips. I gave you one by himself with Eric and Conrad, and Eric, to his point, would not bury Rick Rude, who had been already passed away at this point, by the way. But Eric would not bury Rick Rude. He really respected him, and they were all from Minnesota, so they were like so was Bischoff, so he was like in it with Rick Rude, but then I sent another link where when Ric Flair was sober and he could speak a coherent sentence, they had the Woo podcast, which Conrad just produced.
Yes.
And Conrad was there in the background, but he had Bischoff on. And Flair was like, "Don't you remember when he pulled a gun on you?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." Like, and Bischoff did not want to roll him under the bus, but Flair's like, "No, dude, like I was there." Like Rick Rude was kind of a dick sometimes. Like, so yeah, I gave you guys.
I think Rick says he's like one of my biggest problems, Eric, is that I have a fairly good memory.
Yeah, I remember this shit, and I remember him fucking being a dick bully and being
How
an asshole.
do you? First of all, how do you remember anything? You fucking.
David,
I'm the-
he sounds like Bill Cosby now. Like my impression of Ric Flair is Bill Cosby.
it kind of blends, yeah.
You see,
Oh,
David, sometimes you walk the aisle.
You get into the Jello, and
No.
the Jello tastes good.
My daughter, Camille.
My daughter Charlotte.
If this doesn't make
married
Insta, Jess,
4
I will
times.
come and hunt you down. If this doesn't make Insta, I swear to God. All right. Well, there's repeated backstage anecdotes involving Rude and Bischoff.
I mean,
during
pulling
their
a
time
gun
at
on
WCW.
someone is.
Well, he didn't pull a gun. He didn't. If you listen to the story,
okay.
it was not.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was conveniently laying in the trunk.
Yeah, Eric has told this story in podcast interviews with Woo, like I said, with Ric Flair. And Rude was holding on to the WCW International World Heavyweight title, and he had been injured and left the company while still in possession of that strap. Bischoff went to retrieve the belt from Rude at a WCW show in the parking lot. And
I'll go to your car with
when Rude opened the trunk, the belt was sitting next to a .357 revolver. It's not a big deal. Bischoff said he briefly thought Rude might use it, then Rude simply picked up the belt and handed it to him.
Rude came up and got Eric and took him outside. And did he point the gun at you, or did he just have it in the car?
No, he knew. I told him. I said, Rick, I got to get the title back. Enough is enough. And he and I ended up walking out to his car. And I don't know why I wasn't afraid. Maybe I was too stupid.
Well, I was afraid for you.
I just, and maybe it was because deep down inside, I knew Rude wasn't really. He was hot at his situation. He was angry at a lot of things, but I had never really done anything to him. And look, Rick Rude
None of us had.
Rick Rude could have torn my head off and not even dropped the beer that was in his other hand while he was doing it. Wow. So and I knew that. But whatever reason, I walked out to his car. He opens up his trunk, and there's the belt sitting there right next to a 357. And he just kind of looked in the trunk, and he looked at me, and he reached in, and I thought, well, here it goes.
Yeah.
And he grabbed the belt. and he handed it to me. And I think that he made a statement, and that was the end of it. Nothing happened after that, really.
But why?
Bischoff's
let's think about Rick Rude's fucking sick brain at this point. Like, why? Like, they were trying to get the belt back. They're like, you can't wrestle anymore. You're going to be done for a bit. And this was legitly that ended his career, that injury. And they were like, I need my belt back. And he's like, come out here, Bischoff. And so the funny thing is in my mind, he's Rick Rude.
Why didn't you just bring it in the venue, right?
Yeah, well, in my mind, when I play all this stuff, he's Rick Rude. We've known him as like, I'm the ravishing one. Mwah. But in real life, Rick Rude had a gravelly voice. He had chew in his mouth all the time. That's just who Rick Rude was. So when he's talking to you, he's like this. But in my mind, he's like, come out to my ravishing car and look at my gun. Like in my mind, like he's Rick Rude. But he wasn't. He brings him out there and he goes, you want the belt back? And he opens up the trunk and there's his 357 sitting on top of the belt. And he goes to pretend like he grabs the gun and then grabs the belt. And Bischoff, even to Bischoff's credit, when he was talking to Flair, he's like, maybe I was too dumb. I just thought there's no way this guy's going to shoot me in the parking lot. And he wouldn't, by the way. Like, unless Rick Rude was super crazy, which he wasn't. He was a dick. And, like, he had a lot of roids in his body or whatever.
If he had continued to wrestle, you never know.
But the thing is Bischoff just kind of did logic. And he's like, he's not going to fucking do a goddamn thing to me. Like, we're out in a public parking lot. Everyone knows I just walked out to get the belt from him. He's not going to do shit. But Rick Rude in his mind's like, hey, I'm going to grab the gun. Just kidding. I'm going to grab the belt because I'm a magnanimous man. No, you're not. You're a dickhole. And like, you're done and you're pissed and you're drunk and you're on drugs. And I get it. And you're mad and you're in pain all the time. And I get all of that. But just give me the fucking fake belt if you could. Thanks. Like, it's just like
me and 357 are going to show you what a real man is all about.
Like, you want the belt? Come and get the belt. Like in the guns in there. Like,
don't forget to pull his sweat off.
Thanks, funny.
Yeah, he goes. Yeah, he does, and he does the rude awakening on Eric's wife. And he kisses her because that's what he did. Like, so it's just it's just funny because and I didn't mean this episode. As I was putting the notes together, I was like, kind of shitting on Rick Rude. If that's what you did, though, you deserve it. Like, he did great stuff in the ring. He was a great fucking performer. Like, and Kurt Hennig was great friends with him. There's a lot of people that were like, dude, he was a loyal guy. If you were loyal to him, he was loyal to you. But then there was, there's a part about wrestling in the late 80s, well, really even in the 70s, but like in the 80s and 90s, you were paranoid. You had a spot to protect. And if you were injured, everybody else was injured and somehow skating by because they would just suck beer down at night or they would take pain pills or whatever, like to do or whatever. And when you were faced with your own mortality, when someone tells you, no, your spine's fucked up, bro, you cannot do this anymore, you're done. Like, that's your livelihood. That's everything that you've ever done. And I just, I do feel for him. And I don't agree with the bullying tactics, but I feel for him. And there's a lot of untold stories about Rick Rude, which is why I was like, let's just do a Rick Rude themed, Wrestling Gets Real, because he did do a lot of shit. There's a rumor Flair told on his podcast that I didn't put it in the notes, that he beat the shit out of the Warrior in like 1990 because Rude came back. It's when he cut his hair short, and then he went for the world title run, and they ended up main eventing SummerSlam in a steel cage. Warrior and Rude did for the WWF title. And I heard the story. Flair told the story that somebody else that was working in WWF told him that, and he said this was like common knowledge. But I have not found information anywhere of this. But Flair swears by it. So if you remember what I say, then remember what I say. It was the pudding and the Camille. And so,
you can't do that while I'm taking a drink. You can't do that.
So what the way Flair told it is that I guess Warrior was in the back with Vince, and Vince is like, I think the program for the summer is going to be like, we're going to kind of revamp Rick Rude. He's going to cut his hair short and he's beefed up or whatever, and he's going to face you for the title.
Really big. Yeah, fucking huge. At least 20 pounds of muscle.
Warrior said something to the fact of like, that was when I was coming up as Intercontinental Champion. Like, he's not good enough to challenge for the world title. That's what Warrior said to Vince. And it got back to Rude. And I guess from what Flair said, that he was told by somebody else who was there in the locker room that Rick Rude beat the shit.
Warrior shouldn't talk about things he doesn't know about.
Yeah, I guess that Warrior beat the shit out of him, or Rude beat the shit out of him in the locker room and fucked the Warrior up. And that's also part of the reason why he had a falling out. I'd never heard about that before. I just always heard that after the program with Warrior, Rude went to McMahon. He's like, well, what do you want to do with me now? Like, I want to be world champion or be a champion for you. Like, I'm above the IC title. I just lost to the Warrior for the world title. Well, you're going to be in a your mama joke feud with Boss Man. And Rude's like, fuck you. And that was like,
go.
Yeah, that's when Rude left. He went to WCW, and arguably to me was treated better in WCW than he was like in that because WCW.
He would have never got the accolades in WWE that he got in WCW. There's no way.
Yeah, and so that's
no way.
That's why I wanted to talk about Rude, not to shit on him, but at the same time, like he was a bully, and I'd heard the stories before, and you get to a point where there's a lot of tough guys in wrestling that people don't understand. Like nobody knew for a long time that Paul Orndorff would fuck your shit up. And Vader on screen is this monster, right? And then you find out that an overage Paul Orndorff in his flip-flops fucked Vader up in a locker room. And Vader was old and injured at that time too. And don't get me wrong, like all these guys like are in this fake sport. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but they get disrespected when they go in public. There's how many times do you hear in the 70s and 80s of people just going like, they're getting drunk in bars going, this is all phony. I could beat you up. Like, and it's like they get challenged like that all the time. So even in the 80s and 90s, you had guys like Rick Rude and Vader and Orndorff that were still like, no, like we have to be this aura, like this tough guy thing. Haku, like in bars, fucking people up. It's like because you could, in the territory days, Bill Watts' big rule in Mid-South was if you get beat up in a bar fight, you're fired. Like, basically, that's what he told him. If you want to go out and party in your party life or whatever, that's awesome. But if a pedestrian comes up to you and challenges you and makes you look bad, I'll hear about it and you're fired. So, yeah, wrestling gets real, too, in the books.
Yeah.
Only 2 parts.
So before we sound off, I think we need to look into. I heard a little something about a Kurt Angle Eddie Guerrero takedown. That would be fun.
David, you do not know if that's going to be my plan for Wrestling Gets Real 3. You do not know.
Yeah.
Wrestling Gets Real 4.
If it's not, I just want you to look into it. That's all I'm saying.
David,
right,
you
Greg?
don't know
Sorry.
that I'm
for
already
audio fans. Give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
The Rude and the things. I don't know. I'm doing
the Putty Pops and the for video. Check us out on YouTube at our wrestling channel. And look to your left for several other options. Just has them there for you.
Or you
and
can go fuck yourself and do
if you gave him a follow on Instagram at O.W.P.
Wrestling Gets Real Part 1. We've never done
Put a
one
little
before.
something in the drink and we'll talk some wrestling and then you go sleep.
For Craig, Jess, and myself, this is the O.W.P. signing off. Have a good one.
Oogie boogie.